Already back again for part 4. So we got it running, and I'll show you what's going on here. One of the other issues that doesn't matter for the hybrid side, but if you remember from part 1, the mechanic forgot a ton of stuff, right? He also forgot to hook up this mass airflow sensor wire. It wasn't pushed in all the way, which includes the intake air temperature sensor. So we fixed that because obviously the mechanic, doesn't know what he's doing. We had to top off the antifreeze on both of those tanks, the coolant, go through all that. There's some other stuff we got to do. Now, if you come back here or into the car, the battery, we got it all charged up to like 350 something. We charge it for a few hours, about 4 or 5 hours total. So we're good there. We got it all semi put back together. Got the key on, engine off. No security light because we did the programming in part 2 of this video series. Now we're going to go into diagnosis. Going to go auto scan. We're going to scan for codes on the entire system. And then we'll go from there. All right, so I did a full system scan here. Let's see what we got here. We got the P1000 in the engine computer, which don't care about. That just means it hasn't done all its tests yet, which will eventually come. The ABS lost communication with the 4-wheel drive clutch or the control module. Again, it's who knows. Maybe this mechanic didn't plug everything back in because he did have to have that apart to get to this transmission. Something we got to look at. The A-pin module, we got to look at that as well. That has nothing to do with what we're troubleshooting now for the no crank, no start. But what's important is we have no programming issues with the instrument cluster and the transmission because we reprogram it in part 2 of this video series. That's good. The other thing is the transmission control module. Well, I already said that was good. Let me go down here. The battery control module, we have no issues with that. Before we had codes for battery voltage, module concerns in both the PCM and the BCM, the battery control module, but we fixed all that by charging it up. We didn't have to spend $1,000 on a charger. We made one for like $67, $68. So that's all good. So now if you go into the BCM and let's look at our live data, because there's no codes in here. And again, what's important, no security light. If you go down, no fault for the battery control module, the pack's okay. State of charge, 37%. Battery pack voltage is 344. No cell failure, no fault, which we had all these issues before. We were under like, what, 298, 295, so we charged it. Now, when I started it earlier, this still showed 0%, the state of charge, until we ran it. It started charging up. But we had to get that battery voltage up. So now we're going to go ahead and start it again. Let me move around over here to get positioned. So I'm going to start it now. So I started it. I had to wiggle the ignition a little bit because I don't think I addressed it in the earlier videos, but there's an ignition switch issue with this video, or not this video, this car, that it's intermittently would not turn power on and stuff, but we can, that'll be an easy fix. But now we're running, and if you look here, our state of charge is 38%, that's changing, and our battery pack voltage is 369. All that's going to change according to what the BCM, the battery control module, wants. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this back up, put the lead, string tube, and put everything back securely and safely. And we're going to take it for a drive and do our drivability check, see what else this mechanic missed. Again, this video it started off with the series part 1. Basically, an individual bought the vehicle, it had a cracked transmission housing, got it for a decent price, bought a transmission from a junkyard, a certified or salvage yard, a certified transmission. This mechanic, he paid over $1,000 to put it in from this mechanic. The mechanic couldn't get the thing to crank over and start, so they took it to the local dealer in Mountain Home. They couldn't communicate the TCM according to them. They couldn't program it, all the stuff. But I got a hold of it, took a look at it. Well, you have to do a relearn between the TCM, because it's a new TCM, not new, but it's new to the vehicle, and match it up to the instrument cluster. You basically got to marry the two together so you can, the PAT system, which is the key system, works correctly. And then after that, it still wouldn't crank, it wouldn't start over, because the battery voltage for the high voltage battery was below the threshold from sitting for so long. So we had to get that all hooked up. See, you can see the engine shut off there. Now it's just using the electric motor. Battery pack voltage and state of charge. You can see those numbers there. But yeah, so the engine's off. It's just using electric motor now. But to get back to my what I was talking about in regards to the low voltage on the battery, it was below 300 volts, right? The nominal voltage on these are 330 volts, because there's 250 cells times 1.32 volts will give you a nominal of 330 volts. So we had to get it back charged up to that amount for this thing to crank over, because it uses the high voltage battery in the back there, and there's a generator inside the transmission, and it uses the generator to charge it, but it also uses it as a starter to start the engine. So again, the mechanic obviously didn't know what he was doing, right? I don't know if he didn't have the right tools, know-how, or experience, or all of the above. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put some stuff back together and go drive it around, and we'll go on, move on from there. There may or may not be another part of the video to this, but right now this video is, or this series is done, because we have fixed everything for this vehicle. Well, I know I just said it was done, but I did want to show you one other thing. A couple seconds after the end of that last part, the engine started back up again, which it's going to cycle on and off depending on charge and discharge rate according to the battery control module. So state of charge 41%, voltage 366, around there. So it'll cycle on and off, and we're just going to go ahead and drive it around and see what else this supposed mechanic missed, and then fix all that. One more thing, it's back off the engine, but if you look here, I'm moving from the electric motor, the drive motor, which is a separate motor than the generator. So everything's good. Everything's working as advertised. That little green arrow there means it's running off battery power and it's charging up. Then again, there's all of our data. State of charge and battery pack voltage. So eventually, put the e-brake back on here. Back in, e-brake on. Back in park, but eventually the engine will start up again. So this hybrid part is working. So we'll have to go actually take it out on the road and the highway and see what else we need to do to this vehicle. Oh, also you can see that it's in the EV mode right there. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now we're driving it on electric mode, but there's a clunky noise underneath because the mechanic, again, didn't do something correctly. So we can't even complete the drivability checks. We got to put it back on the lift and see what this mechanic screwed up again. So at least we got it to run, everything's working, but there's a audible noise click underneath there, something the mechanic did. I'm sure of it because he screwed everything else up. So put it back on the lift and see what this noise is. So got the vehicle back on the lift. The reason is because the mechanic screwed something else up. There's a loud drivetrain issue, but before we get to that, if you look back up here, there's an auxiliary pump, that connector up there. It was unplugged, I just plugged it back in. But again, this bracket here is not even mounted in there on those bosses back there. This thing's loose. I know I talked about this in some of the other, or part one of the video, but I mean, the bell housing bolts, right? So go ahead and start it, make sure it's in park. Hold the brake, put it in drive. Slowly release the brake and drive. Let the tires roll. A little more. Stop. Park. turn it off. So I think the issue is, if you look at this joint up here that goes into the front differential, it does not look centered. When this mechanic put this back together, because he had all this stuff off to do the transmission, yet again, he screwed this up. So now I got to take his drive shaft out, because that's where all that noise is coming from, this drive line. Looks like it's, to me, it looks like it's not centered there. Yep, right there. All that noise right there. He didn't hook that up correctly. So that's our audible tone. That's, I mean, it's better than being in the transmission. Let me do it here with the light. So we can't even drive it like that. So what we need to do now is we got to rip that apart and fix that. So we're trying to locate this part here, this front drive shaft CV joint, or they call it a Rosetta joint. Trying to get one of those located so we can get this thing drivetrain back together. I don't know how the mechanic missed that or if he screwed it up, but obviously he sucks. So he's not a mechanic nor a technician, but to get that so we can do all of our drivability checks, rerun diagnostics. I know I keep beating a dead horse, but this bracket up there, we got to put that back since the mechanic didn't do that. Got to put that max coolant pump back because he didn't hook it up to that bracket. We got to find these bell housing bolts. Who knows what the mechanic did with those? We need to check the fluid because, well, the mechanic can't do basic stuff. Who knows if he even did the fluid correctly? We got to put the bracket back right there on those bolts for the exhaust. We got to put the bolts back in those nuts there that the mechanic missed. We got to find all this hardware too. We already talked about the Rosetta joint up there. Moving back. We got to fix that exhaust leak there. The donut's not seated correctly. Got to put all the hangers back on the exhaust that the mechanic didn't do correctly. The one back there. Hang that one back up. And I'm sure there's some other stuff in here, but I already fixed the mass airflow and the intake temperature sensor up top because he didn't hook that up correctly. So we just got to do an overview of this whole vehicle and just make sure that we're not see what else this mechanic missed. So we'll just go through it, put it all back together and get the hardware and take it for the test, and after that everything should be good to go.